Welcome everyone to the very first Tips Talk or Tip Talks. You've heard about TED Talks. This is Tip Talks. Welcome to the show for episode 1. I'm Jeff Herring, your host, and with us here are two very esteemed colleagues. One of them is Denise Wakeman, and she's going to approach this through the lens of visibility. And I guess I should tell you what this is. This is focused on how to grow your Substack newsletter. So Denise is going to focus on visibility, Andy's going to focus on AI prompts, and I'm going to focus on, as Denise said, the thing talk about in notes every day, content profit. So we're going to dive right in here. Denise, you're first. How does visibility work into growing your Substack?
Okay, well, you're kind of changing the topic a little bit, but
what was it supposed to be?
So about newsletter visibility. So I wasn't not really focused specifically on Substack, but
okay. Well, that's fine. That's fine. We can do both.
Yeah, because to me, anything that applies to Substack would apply to any newsletter that someone may be writing. So
that's the thing I tell people, because somebody was telling me the other day, how come you're investing so much time in helping people run their Substacks? Because, this one could change like all the others did. I said, well, okay, then I'll go to the next one, because the principles, like you say, are all the same, whatever platform you're on.
Yeah, it's pretty much platform agnostic. The things that I talk about.
I like that phrase, platform agnostic. I like it.
Yeah, that's how I look at all of this, because there are fundamental and foundational things that you want to always be focused on, no matter if you're growing a newsletter on Substack or growing a newsletter on one of its competitors, we won't name them, or you are, publishing a newsletter that you send through your own email service provider, right? So, which is the way we all started, me moving over to Substack a while back, was new for me to go onto a platform to publish a newsletter, right? So, but the reason I did is because of the amount of visibility that Substack can give creators. I mean, it's huge what they're doing. But in terms of looking at visibility or looking at a newsletter through the lens of visibility, the way I've always thought about a newsletter and email in general, because it's always been that a newsletter was sent out by email, right? Since 1999 or 1997 or whatever it is, when like Allie Brown's was the e-zine queen.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
you're taking us back.
I was following her back when she started. So
Me too.
It's a newsletter is a one-to-one conversation. No matter if you have 10 people on your list or you have 10,000 people on your list, you're sending it to one person. And that to me is the ultimate visibility, because you have their sole attention when they're reading your content, your newsletter, your email. So that makes it a very powerful tool in the visibility toolbox, is that by communicating via email, not to the exclusion of other methods like social or video or whatever, because now, of course, all of that gets combined. But you don't want to exclusively be on social to communicate, because you're competing with so many eyeballs. You're competing with all the content that's out there. But when you're sending a newsletter, you have that one person reading it at that moment in time. So
and that's really huge, because I remember back in the days of e-zine articles, that's one thing Substack's doing well, is you send out or you put up your thing, your newsletter, your post or whatever, and that's it. It doesn't have 8 others to go read, or at YouTube, 8 other things to go view, right? It's just you.
And they're competing for your attention.
Yeah.
So, and that was really, what the purpose of websites were too. And, many people would send out their blog posts in the olden days, by an RSS feed or by email, right? I mean, that's how I, drove traffic, before all the social was sending an email to the people who signed up to get an email when notification when I posted a new content. So, email is really every single person probably in the world now has an email address because you have to have one in order to sign up for anything.
Right. Right.
So if you're looking at your newsletter as a form of email, which it is, then you're enabling yourself to get in front of those people. You are communicating and building relationships with them. So you don't want to just put all your eggs in the social basket. You want to make sure that you are creating those connections with people through your newsletter. And it doesn't have to be a complicated. It can be short. It can be long. There's lots of newsletter formats. It used to be there was a very specific format for newsletter.
Right.
Before they
Right.
were done in email, they were done on paper and sent to you in the mail.
Right. I
And
remember. I
there
remember.
was lots of formatting issues with that. I mean, I used to do that for a couple of the places where I worked in the before pre-internet days. So now it's so easy, but there's a lot of ways to look at it, but I'm going to change, give the floor to Andy, and then we can come back around to.
Okay, yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that. And just to add something to what you were saying, I hadn't thought about this in ages, but the first email newsletter I ever had was back when I was a counseling psychologist, and half of my clients were teenagers and their families, right? And the people that referred teenagers were the guidance counselors in the middle schools and in the high schools. And the
Mhm.
rule where I lived was if they referred you to somebody, they had to give 3 names. Okay. And so I wanted to stay top of mind. So my first email newsletter, it's such a nice creative name. It was called the Guidance Gazette. Okay.
Oh,
A little alliteration there.
Gazette. Yeah, yeah.
But
Gazette is
basically what
good.
it had is some of my articles from the newspaper and a schedule of when I was doing groups. And what that turned into, a lot of the counselors told me, yeah, we got to give out 3 names, but when we give them out, our thumb is on yours. Like, okay, that's cool. And then it turned into about half of those people sent their kids to me. So I was like, all right, this newsletter is a good thing to do. So yeah, I can't wait to hear what else you have to say. And Andy, I can't wait to hear what you have to say. The king, the master, the OG of AI prompts.
Prompt master. That's right.
Oh, I
Ah,
like that, prompt master.
I'm blushing. Well, and this is my first live on Substack, so thank
Well,
you so much
welcome.
for having me. And as you can see,
Pleasure.
I'm using this tripod for my phone that I bought like 10 years ago. And so if it looks like I'm like almost to my ceiling, that's why, because it's kind of pointing up
You're
at
just
me.
taller than I thought you were. That's all.
Yeah. So I mean, I've had a Substack now for a few months, and I've scared Jeff away already. Um, so what I'm noticing,
Forgot
there
to
he
turn
is,
my
he's
lights on.
back. What I'm noticing is a lot of people are letting AI do all the heavy lifting, and that's not the way to go. But here I am, the OG of prompting or whatever. Uh, so I mean, I'm like. Uh, a big proponent of using prompts, but it has to be in the context of a conversation. So that's how you can kind of have your cake and eat it too with Substack. And there's no more staring at the blank page. You can brainstorm with AI for headlines or angles. Like if you have like just an inkling of an idea, just a little seed, you can take that to AI and it will explode it into all kinds of things that you hadn't even considered. And I do this on a nightly basis. Like I'm just like, so hooked
Yeah,
on
I think you
doing what
are.
I do with AI. So one of the things you can do, in addition to brainstorming, you can create outlines for a post, or you can have it speed up the drafting process of your posting. You can research or summarize data or statistics. Some of my most popular notes on Substack are research based. People love to know what they want receipts. They want to know that you can back up the claims that you're making. Like, like I'll say, humanization is more effective than all AI, and I back that up with research that I got from AI. So I mean, it's pretty cool that way. So if you treat AI like a creative intern who's really fast but needs supervision, you'll be in good shape.
I like that. Have you named yours?
No.
Okay. I was talking to somebody the other day that they call I forgot the name, but they have a name for their assistant.
Yeah. I know other people who do too.
Yeah. No, we're on a no-name basis.
Yeah.
I'm still thinking about
things to avoid: over relying on AI. Like I said, you're going to lose your voice. A lot of people are losing sight of their own voice, their own humanity, because they're relying on AI too much for doing the work. It's very tempting, and it's a very fine line between having AI like save you all this time, but then you forgot what you're all about. Like, what is my mission? What is my purpose? What's my voice? What's my personality? AI kind of fills in the
exactly.
blanks for you if you're not careful. So you have to watch out for that. And then the prompts. I mean, you mentioned that I was promoting the fact that I'll be giving folks some prompts in this. So let's jump into that, because I'm like, so I got prompts coming out all orifices here with, I mean, I've been working so hard
Not
to
a
get
good picture.
prompts, and
That
not
is
just
going to be all over the internet, Andy. I'm going to
not
use that
just
as a plug
generic
as I
prompts.
promote this.
These are like high level prompts. Okay, so for an idea
Denise,
generation
can't you
prompt, you
imagine the
could say,
graphic that'll go on for that?
Yeah.
"Oh, come on, Jeff."
All right, I'll stop.
I I forgot who I was talking to. Sorry, just for a second. I forgot. Okay.
We have people in the audience.
Oh
I could
yeah,
see
that's right.
the numbers go down now. They're editing the live.
0.
Yeah,
Everybody's offended.
I'm here
I
all
see
week.
an OMG there. Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, idea generation. I'm going to give you 5 prompts. All right,
Okay.
and I'm going to post these on my. Well, you can post them on your Substack and on mine. I'm sure you'll be directing folks to Denise and my
Oh yeah,
Substack.
I'll do that, and I'll also put them in the show notes for when this is sent out there.
Cool. Oh, here comes another one. Okay. Uh, what are 7 unexpected ways that my audience is struggling with? And then you insert the topic there. And how can I turn those into Substack post angles that feel fresh, personal, and non obvious? Okay,
I
that's,
used that one of yours the other day. It was amazing.
yeah, well, actually, this is hot off the presses, this particular
You
Oh,
one.
okay.
haven't seen this one.
Yeah, that's,
All right. Well,
so,
something like that then. Anyway.
okay, well, there's no 2 prompts are the same, Jeff.
That's true.
At
That's true.
least none of my prompts. Um, okay, here's another one. To polish your voice, rewrite this paragraph. So you're going to insert the paragraph that you came up with. Rewrite this paragraph in a tone that sounds more like me, warm, a little rebellious, and sharp, but keep the original meaning. Now, if you're doing this yourself for your posts or your paragraph, you're going to give it different tones. Or you could ask AI what your tone is if you have a history of communicating with AI. Like I've been working with AI for over 2 years now, so it knows my tone backwards and forwards. So I could say this and it would know. The next one is to get help with the structure of a Substack post. You could say, give me a 3-part outline for a Substack post titled, and you could give it the title, that hooks attention, builds trust with storytelling, and ends with an open ended question to drive comments. Because, comments are what it's all about. You got to have that engagement on this platform and all the other platforms too, but especially Substack, in my opinion. So that's a good one to actually, that checks a lot of boxes, that particular prompt. Post expansion prompt. I wrote a short note. Can you help me turn it into a longer Substack post with a story at the beginning, a core insight in the middle, and a reflective ending? So it's going to give you these things, but you need to
Humanize.
Humanize. You
There's the
can't,
word.
do not copy and paste your AI outputs. I beg of you. If you do, it's not like you're going to get struck by lightning, but it will kind of water down. It's just
Yes, it'll be weaker.
yeah, and it's a bad habit. Don't go down that road because it's easy to just go out of control with that. Once you start doing it, you get used to doing it, and that's when you lose your voice. You really risk doing that if you just paste in that stuff. And finally, an engagement hook prompt suggests 5 comment-friendly questions that I can ask at the end of this post to start a meaningful discussion. So you give it the post, and then it will give you ideas for asking for feedback, comments, engagement. So those are the 5 prompts that I was, promising to deliver in this live. So there you go.
I think that's brilliant. And like we said, folks, these will be in the show notes. You don't have to furiously write down and, oh my God, I didn't get that word. They'll be in the show notes. Don't do that to your hand.
Yeah, don't do that.
Or your fingers, okay? If you're just joining us, what we're doing is we're talking about newsletters and Substack and how to look at them from 3 different angles. Denise is talking about visibility. Andy was just talking about AI prompts. And I'm going to talk about content profit. Just one more thing, Andy, to what you were saying. You came out with one recently that was the beginning of a sales letter.
Yes.
And I wrote a whole sales letter off of that prompt.
Really?
That sounds like me. Yeah. I mean, man, when we tease you about being the prompt master, it's the truth.
There's a lot of prompt people out there, and the way that I like to differentiate myself is that my prompts, I come from a copywriting background. I've been writing copy for 20 years. So this is just the next phase of writing copy to me. Prompt writing is very connected to copywriting.
Oh,
So
yeah.
if you go at it from that perspective, because you have to be creative with your prompts, you have to kind of catch AI off guard and really be disarming with your prompts. So it's not just thinking to itself, okay, here we go, another generic prompt that they took from this buy 30,000 prompts for $100 deal that somebody just did, and
Right.
so this is more like meaty prompts
Yeah.
that really matter. And there's a big difference in the two. And those are the kind that I like to write.
They're humanized prompts.
Yes, it eases the process for humanization. When you have prompts, it really cuts the humanization time by quite a bit.
I love it. Thank you. Now we'll come back and get another word from Denise and another word from Andy before we wrap up. I'm going to talk about content profit. And to me, somebody that's looked at repurposing all my career and turning it into profit, Denise is nodding her head and rolling her eyes. Yeah, you've done it a couple times. We're talking about '05, right? And so Substack is set up in a beautiful way for content profit. And I'm not just talking about the paid membership level, your weekly, your monthly, yearly, or your founders. I'm talking about the ideas. Okay. The other day, I forget who said this to me, but I was talking about getting a good idea for a mini course from a note. Somebody said, wow, Substack's pretty brutal about, people are pretty brutal about what they like. If people like that, you've got something good. Okay. And so let's talk about turning a note into a newsletter. Okay. Or a paid newsletter or a paid product. Okay. Notes are interesting things. They can be little, they can be, I think you explained it well to me, Denise. You said micro articles. That's kind of what they are. And so I use Chat GPT that Yana GUI created, and I've got it prompted. I've learned from you. And, but it gave me one about content repackaging. I sent it out February 1st. Yeah, so 2 months ago, essentially. All right. I didn't expect this, but the last time I looked, there was 324 new subscribers from that one prompt. Okay. Do you think maybe I'll turn that into some kind of product? I mean, the audience has voted, folks. So what I want you to do is first what I want you to do is get in there and do 2 to 3 a day. Okay, that's kind of the standard to get noticed, and it does get you noticed. I mean, getting 324 new subs from one thing is a good thing. And then pay attention to how people respond. Okay, you'll send out notes that get crickets, and you're like, should I take that down or should I wait? Then you'll get stuff that's pretty good, and then you get great stuff. My intention is never to go viral. My intention is to be consistent. And so, what you get to pay attention to with your notes, which are the ones that people are talking about, responding to, restacking, liking, okay? And here's what you do. You turn that into a post, okay? You repurpose the note into a post and see how that one does on a little bit bigger version, okay? And if that does well, you've got double confirmation. Your audience has already voted. They want to buy this. They want this next. Well, what can you do with that? Well, you can make it part of your tiered membership on Substack. Make it a mini course or a master class or whatever. You can also sell them separately, right? So really, with Substack, to me, it's the best platform where you don't have to guess anymore. You can know, and the fact, like again, somebody I can't remember their name who said this that Substack's a good place to do it because if somebody on Substack likes it, because they're kind of discerning, you've got something good. Okay, and so I could go on forever about that, but I want to get some final thoughts from Denise and some final thoughts from Andy.
Okay. Well, visibility is about being seen, about building trust, about building credibility. And if your content, your business isn't being seen, then that means you're invisible. So one of the easiest ways really is to consistently communicate with the people who have raised their hand to get what you are producing.
Right.
So it's
Right.
whether you're teaching them, whether you're selling something, and the way to do that really most consistently is with a newsletter. And that's why I consider it to be one of the most high visibility actions that you can take, because it creates a consistent action. It doesn't have to be 10 pages long. It could be one paragraph long. I mean, one of my favorite newsletters is from Josh Spector, and it's like 3 sentences daily, and it's always got value. Always. So, it doesn't have to be a lot, but it has to be a way, but you want it to be a connection between you and the person reading it, because that's how you're going to build authority. That's how you're going to build credibility. And that's how you're going to stay top of mind, visible to the people who want what you have to offer, what you are offering by service or products or whatever it is. You don't have to be selling all the time. It's about that continual conversation with people. And eventually people raise their hand and say, I want that, and that's the thing for me is like, I've had people wait 10 years. Oh, I've been on your list for 10 years and I,
Oh yeah,
now need you,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
Now
The
I
best
need
thing
you.
I ever heard Bruce Springsteen say was one of the things I try to keep in mind is that I'm in a lifelong conversation with my audience. And I thought, yes, that's us. We're in a
Yeah,
lifelong conversation with these folks.
yeah.
And so, folks, if you're just joining us, this is the first ever Tip Talk. And we started it with 2 great guests. And what we're talking about is newsletters and then also growing them on Substack with Denise Wakeman. She's doing it through visibility. Andy's been doing it through AI prompts, and we're going to get his final thoughts. And then I've been doing it through Content Profit. And I'll give you some final thoughts. So, Andy, you're next.
Yeah, and thanks again, Jeff, for having us. And
Oh, sure.
it's great, and I get to look at myself on my phone for like 25 minutes, which is quite a treat.
It feels
So
narcissistic, doesn't it?
I will leave you with a few things on keeping your Substack human, even if you're using AI. So number one, if once you get an output from AI, inject it with some anecdotes, some metaphors, some opinions that you hold dear to, just insert those things into the content. Use AI to challenge your thinking and sometimes ask it to play devil's advocate or explain a point differently. And then just inject some emotion and subtext. Say what AI can't do, because AI struggles with that stuff right now. Coming down the road, it probably won't. But right now, you have the advantage of using some nuance that AI can't touch, like subtext and emotion. So AI will not write your best work, but it will help you get to it faster. And I will
Yes.
lead you with that. You have to lead
It
the
will,
way.
it will
Be the
get you
leader.
started. I like that, Andy. And so, folks, my final tip, we talked about repurposing. We talked about turning content, notes, articles, posts into cash. Here's the thing about this with all the content you've got in a newsletter, on Substack, anywhere. Don't ever turn on your computer and start to build a product with a blank page. That's like torture. You don't have to do that. Okay. And there's two mistakes people are making there. One, they're not using their content they've already got, new and existing content, to repurpose it into products. And two, most of the folks that are staring at a blank page have an idea in their head that they've never talked to anybody about, right?
Mhm.
And then they're waiting, they're going to spend all this time building this thing, and then their mom's going to buy it, right? This is really weird. In the history of my doing this, well, I'll tell you the story like you were talking about, Andy. Way back when Facebook Live was just coming out to certain Facebook users, Mike Stewart and I went, oh, okay, live video secrets. Let's build a product. All right, so I drove out to his lake house. We're working on it. We're doing the videos. And then there was some notice about not everybody has this yet. And we're like, oh, crap, we can't sell this. People would be pissed. Don't blame them. So we put that on hold. I'm driving back home thinking, well, that was going to be this month's product. What are we going to do? So took my laptop to one of my favorite satellite offices, a really good Oriental place called Rice. It has the best sushi. So I got my favorite, got at my computer, and I said, all right, folks, here's what's happened. Help me decide the next product. And I had picked one that I thought would be the best. And I threw one in as just a filler to make it 5 because I'd done something about repurposing the year before. Well, that's the one they wanted, was the one on repurposing, which I'd have never in a million years guessed. And as I look back through all the times I've asked, I cannot think of a single time where the audience has picked what I was going to do if left to my own device. Okay?
Yeah.
So use that one.
Ask your audience.
Right.
Yes. AYA. There you go. All right,
There
folks.
you
Speaking of audience, thank you for being ours. A lot of
go.
places you could have been on the internet now. You chose to be with us. That's really appreciated. If you're just joining us, don't worry. Okay, this is going to come out as a newsletter. What a concept. On Saturday, today's Thursday, the time of this call, on Saturday, probably like at 7:07 in the morning when I usually send them out. So on there will be Denise's contact info, Andy's contact info with his prompts, my contact info. And so we're going to wrap up here in just a second, but I got a question, okay? Because
Mhm.
this has been a few weeks in development with Andy and Denise and I about doing this. This is the first tip talk I've ever done, episode 1, and I couldn't think of 2 better guests to start with. And then I was sending out the idea to them this week. Maybe this is crazy, but we're going to give one level of content on this show, right? Okay, and you guys have got stuff you can go home and use right now, or use as soon as we hang up, or even use while we're talking. Okay, what if we got back together and went deeper and did about 20, 30 minutes each and created like a mini product or a small master class or whatever. And so, folks,
Yeah.
do me a favor. The reason I'm asking you that, if that's a good idea, make the hearts flow. I want to see the hearts flow from the bottom of this phone. And if you're listening to this on the replay, 2 things. 1, where the heck were you for the live? And 2, you can tell us below whether this is a good idea or not. And here come the hearts. And Annie's giving us one. There we go.
I never knew how to
Good
do
idea.
that. Am
There
I
we
doing
go.
it right?
I don't know. Just don't do the wrong thing. All right. So thanks for all the hearts. Denise, thank you very much for being here. Andy, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, guys, thank you all for being here. Always honored to be to have you as an audience. It's a great thing to do to serve you. And on that note, we're going to land this plane and say, you guys say it with me now. Okay, you know what we're going to say now, right? Go use this stuff.
Yes.
And we'll catch you next
Do it.
time.